the day I met him, actually, I didn't know it was he. He was signing some papers. I was taken into his office, well, actually into the trustee's room. It wasn't the director's office, and he and someone else were working on some papers together, and he was supposed to sign my papers. I thought he was the head of personnel or something. I didn't know, because I thought Sherman Lee, who wrote Far Eastern Art, was Chinese. I had no idea that he was this 6'4", you know, silver-haired guy from Brooklyn. And so a few hours later, I asked this person who had taken me into him, well, will I ever meet Sherman Lee? And she said, well, you idiot, you just met him this morning. He had this sort of gruff exterior, but you always knew there was a chuckle and a sense of humor underneath it. You know, he was always the first one to admit his mistakes and to stand up for them. And, you know, today I think whenever I read an article about him, even in his obituary, they mention the Grunewald that he bought that turned out to be a fake. Not the thousands of fabulous objects that he added to the collections here, but the Grunewald always comes up. But you know, he was the first one to admit it. And the first one, as soon as a glimpse of a question arose about it, he went right after it to find the truth and made sure that the truth came out and made sure that he remembered the truth. He kept that damn painting hanging in his office for years. That was on one of his walls. And on the wall behind him, so he could see it as he walked in his office every day, was a reproduction of Bruegel's The Blind Leading the Blind. And, you know, again, that was Sherman Lee. His sense of humor showed in other ways. I did an exhibition on ancient animals in ancient art, Greek, Egyptian, ancient Near Eastern. And we had about 150, mostly small, little objects, faience, ceramic, and bronze. And as we were installing the exhibition, Larry Schmidt, who was this gangly, 6'6", I think he was the only person taller than Sherman Lee in the museum. He was on the art handler's crew. He came in to me just the last day of installation with a tiny little green plastic dinosaur. And he put it in one of the cases. And it actually looked perfect. And, you know, all the little bronzes were green, and it just had lovely lines, this little, I don't know what, it was the kind that has sort of a curvy back and a curving tail. It looked great. So I said, we've got to leave it there. So the opening was that night, and, you know, back in those days, an opening was, you know, some finger sandwiches and a cup of tea, you know, in one part of the gallery or something, and it wasn't at all what the full-blown affairs that you have today. And the dinosaur was there during the opening, and it was there for a few days. And after a while, someone on the staff said to me, well, don't you think the dinosaur is getting a little tired of being in the case? I had a feeling that this was coming from somewhere else, but it wasn't going to come to me directly because somewhere else wasn't going to let me know that it had been noticed. So one of the art handlers and I, well, one morning took it out before 10 o'clock in the morning. But then we had some work to do in the permanent galleries. So we were cleaning up one of the cases. I think there was a dead fly in it or something, and so we had to get it out quickly before the galleries opened. So I still had the dinosaur with me, and it was a case that had bronzes in it. And so I stuck it in there. I mean, I couldn't help it. And so we closed up the case, and then a couple of days later, another staff person came to me and said, you know, that dinosaur seems to have moved. Don't you think it really wants to be retired permanently? So I said, okay, I guess we have to take it out. And so I found an art handler, and it was lunchtime. Okay, I said, we've got to go get keys for this case and take out this thing. And I realized it's lunchtime, but you know, we have to do it. So we got the equipment, we went up to the case, and we pulled the thing out, and we were just laughing hysterically as we pulled it out. And around the corner, silently, whipped Sherman Lee. And he said, "What's going on here?" And I said, "Well, you know, somebody put this plastic dinosaur in this case, and we just felt it had to come out." And he said, "Just as long as there aren't any more going in."